Grand Theft Auto 3 is the game that made Rockstar Games into the giant company it is today. When it was released on October 23, 2001, GTA began to turn into a huge phenomenon, and it's been that way ever since. Grand Theft Auto 3 combines fast-paced, hectic missions and driving mechanics with a 3D open world and a crime movie-type story for mood, defining the sandbox genre through an open-ended experience in a dangerous city. With the release of the Definitive Edition, many newer GTA fans may be wondering if this game is worth their time. While I'm playing the PS2 release, GTA 3 is always going to be GTA 3 at the core. So, let's take a look. Grand Theft Auto 3 rewrites the rules for the series, bridging the gap between the arcade-style gameplay of its predecessors and that of modern open-world sandboxes. You can run around in Liberty City choosing to do various missions or side activities, or even just run around doing whatever you want. The city is divided into 3 islands, with only the first one, Portland, available at first. As you play more missions, the rest of the map opens up. Early missions ease you in with simple situations to get you going. Missions involve driving, running around, shooting people, collecting things, and occasionally piloting boats in various situations, among other things. You play as a silent man with no name who gets betrayed by his girlfriend Catalina at the beginning. On the way to prison, an attack breaks you out, and a guy named 8-Ball helps you escape and leads you to a safe house. From there, you start making friends. As you work odd jobs on Portland Island, you get your foot in the door with the Leone crime family, and eventually, you'll meet the Don, Salvatore.
I see nothing but good things for you, my boy.
Sal's got a trophy wife named Maria who loves to get on his nerves whenever possible. Unfortunately, the Mafia turns its back on you when he gets this crazy idea that she's cheating on him with you. I hope you like shotguns blowing you up a lot, because they'll do that. Maria has to help you escape to the second island. On Staunton Island, you'll be working with her friend Asuka and Asuka's brother Kenji doing work for the Yakuza and starting a gang war for local media mogul Donald Love.
Nothing drives down real estate prices like a good old-fashioned gang war.
In the process, the third island quietly unlocks, and some missions involve driving around Shoreside Vale a bit, but only one story mission actually starts there. After your business is finished in Staunton Island, Catalina makes her big play. You see, in the background, Catalina has been working with the Colombian cartel to push a drug called Spank. Eventually, Asuka is killed, and Maria is kidnapped, and you have to come to a mansion in Shoreside Vale to pay a large fee so you can get her back. So you do, and Catalina betrays you again. Who'da thunk it? So, after a rampage, or using a bulletproof car to skip that, you blow up her helicopter and save Maria. But let's face it, the story is ultimately cool wallpaper. We're here for the gameplay when it comes to GTA 3. At the start, GTA 3 eases you in. You're gradually introduced to more and more content. The world is scattered with stuff to grab, like hidden packages or health pickups. As things go on, the difficulty will ramp up quite a bit. The game is very ambitious, and it's trying to do a lot all at once, but it's not the most polished. There's problems. Playing this on the PS2, you'll find yourself at odds with the controls, and while some later versions have more precise, better controls, the game's mechanics in general create problems. The Definitive Edition added quality of life stuff like free aim, but I can't really comment on the results. Your camera can't be moved freely. You can only stand still and look around in first person to move the camera. Instead of free aiming, you can lock on with most guns. Some guns get first-person aiming, but the PS2 controller is awful for this sort of thing. It feels so imprecise. Your movement can be awkward too. You're only able to run for a little bit before you run out of breath. You can't climb over stuff either. You have to either do a running jump onto stuff to get height for a bigger jump, or go around. And the water is so polluted it'll kill you basically instantly if you fall in. Sometimes aiming or just moving around can make the camera suddenly move and disorient you. And given how a lot of situations in this game are set up, one camera twitch and it's over. I think things go downhill just a little too quickly here. Endgame enemies shred you almost instantly, and even on the first island, shotguns blow up your car, and you with it, in 2 shots. You'll often die before you even had a chance to react. Many encounters feel like intense life and death situations, and it's not always for good reasons. I recommend always going into missions with full armor, and eventually using the bulletproof Patriot. If you have to, snipe from safety or do something cheesy. But don't bother with grenades. Good luck blowing anyone up other than you. Driving is really enjoyable in a simple, hectic, arcadey kind of way. The speed often feels cranked up to 11, especially when you have a really high wanted level. The anxiety this game produces with these moments is a highlight of the experience for me. But it's not perfect. Cars feel like bricks on wheels, and they love to roll and flip over. Something that's really aggravating is that you can't bail out of a moving car. You have to basically come to a complete stop to get out of a car. When you really need to bail out, sometimes that's not very helpful. Still, generally, the driving's pretty fun. And it's so satisfying getting the whole city police force and the military to specifically want to kill you and only you. It's a lot of fun. The game's open-ended nature is a big highlight. For the time, this was a huge city, and you're dropped right into it and left to do whatever you want. An open-world sandbox with a lot of freedom and non-linearity. You could just totally ignore the story if you want. Go on a crime spree, sell some cars at the harbor, shoot the moon, go nuts. Even within missions, many of them only tell you what to do, not how. For example, in Bomb to Base Act 2, you're supposed to snipe enemies on a boat from a distance to escort a guy named 8-Ball onto it and blow it up. So I defied all logic and just assaulted the boat head on. I was on it when 8-Ball set the explosives, then a cutscene played and it blew up and I should have been dead. But instead the game just put me on the docks like nothing ever happened. It let me flip the script. The game is stingy with information. There's no map of the whole city, only a mini-map showing you a small area around you. It only temporarily shows you where certain important things are, so you better remember where ammunition and pay and spray are, and you better learn it fast. You got a physical map with the game if you were lucky. The Definitive Edition apparently adds a city map to the actual game, but most versions don't have that. It's amazing that the best thing I've heard about the Definitive Edition is something you'd have gotten for free from modders anyway. Otherwise, you have to actually learn everything in the city. This is an interesting design choice that forces you to learn shortcuts and actually remember where things are. It's like you're actually new to the city and you have to learn it. This is great and all, but some missions have tight time limits. It's not unlikely that a mission will put an objective marker on the edge of your minimap but not tell you that you're supposed to go to another island. I feel like an idiot when I run out of time and fail a mission before the mission even got started. There's a lot of side content. Each island has at least one phone booth where bosses of various side gangs give you jobs. Early side missions on Portland are harder than the main missions that are available at that time. Things just get more aggravating from there. Gang Car Roundup expects you to drive back and forth a bunch between the first 2 islands collecting gang cars. Unfortunately, this involves an obnoxious amount of RNG. You're trying to get past mobsters with shotguns in order to get one of the vehicles, and it's a pain in the ass getting all of them to spawn. I like how insanely aggressive the enemies are in this game. Liberty City's police and its criminals are on the same page about one thing. They both absolutely hate your guts. But there's also some luck involved here. If you're a careful driver, you won't deal as much with the cops, but the cops get really involved as early as a 2-star wanted level. Some of the most tense moments in this game are bits where a mission suddenly gives you a really high wanted level. The frantic pace of the action is a high point, but I don't think things are always the most thought out. Cars are like bricks on wheels that flip over really easily, and later islands also often put you on ledges near water, so it's not unlikely you'll end up getting knocked in. Enemies won't hesitate to make that happen either. Water is your enemy. Whenever you get into a boat, you're simply teleported inside of it. But to get back on land, you have to stop the boat, get out, then try to jump awkwardly onto land without falling into the water and dying. This game is not a platformer. It's safest to just crash your boat onto shore. Don't mess with these janky physics unless you have to. That stupid mission SAM has a part where you have to stop a boat and jump onto land in order to go to this place to blow up this plane that has this stuff on it, but the way the jump is set up, it looks as if you fall in, and it's super easy to twitch and end up thinking you died, and then you jump awkwardly and get yourself killed.
What were they thinking?
When it comes to the boats, things needed a lot of work. Overall, GTA 3's mechanics are interesting, but something of a mixed bag. Now that I've talked at length about the gameplay, it's about time for the conclusion. First, let's look at the positives. Liberty City has a really cool vibe. The game's story is simplistic, but emulates the cool factor of old crime movies, and even uses many famous actors like Michael Madsen,
You mess up, there'll be no evidence.
and Frank Vincent
Cartel has got bottomless funds from pushing that spank crap.
to help sell the idea that you're in a hostile environment right out of your favorite movies. Aggressive enemy behavior and the overall difficulty use game mechanics to further the story and atmosphere. As a silent protagonist, your character is an effective stand-in for you, so you can immerse yourself as a stranger in the strange land that is Liberty City. The game's unusual stinginess about info, even compared to its own series, reinforces this. Liberty City has many treasures and secrets to find, but only by learning the city. This is a great way to keep the player and the player character on the same page so you identify with them. The gameplay is very hectic and chaotic at times, and it's a lot of fun when you come out on top after a tough battle. Maybe I'm a masochist, but there's just something so enjoyable about winning an uphill battle. It's so satisfying. For the time, Grand Theft Auto 3 offers a large city with lots of options and freedom. You're free to make your own fun, often including the freedom to use unconventional methods to achieve your goals. The game is often happy to tell you what you need to do, but not tell you how you have to do it. Open-endedness is a real strong suit here. Without this game, open-world games may never have reached the heights that they did. Grand Theft Auto 3's role in defining the sandbox was no small feat. But Grand Theft Auto 3 is not all good. Let's look at the negatives. This first one isn't that big of a deal because this game's clearly not trying to set the world on fire with innovative storytelling, but the silent protagonist thing is a bit of a disappointment. It's great for letting you identify with him as a blank slate, but he's limited as a character, so cutscenes just amount to X character spouting exposition at you and then you going to go do something. It's to the point that a lot of cutscenes just involve you finding a note while the voice actor narrates it. It makes me think of Double D's parents from Ed, Edd and Eddy always communicating with him through sticky notes. It couldn't have been cheap to hire all these celebrities to play in the game, but it feels like they often don't get much to work with. I wish we could have had more interaction with them. I noticed that after a point, money is pretty much worthless. You're always able to buy full armor and have full health and save your game between missions, so you're always able to somewhat stack the deck in your favor. Given that missions can kill you super fast and buying stuff can be tedious and expensive, you'll need to. But eventually you'll have so much money and there's so little to spend it on. Money just becomes a mostly meaningless number. In a game all about rising up through the ranks of the criminal world, it's disappointing that having big money feels so empty. The game's difficulty is rough. Enemies kill you so fast, and they do it so consistently, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed. It's satisfying to beat a game that's tough, but the problem is GTA 3 is often tough for bad reasons like awkward controls, bad AI, unpolished mechanics, luck, whatever. The difficulty is thus a double-edged sword. The game has this odd habit of punishing you for progressing. When you finish the last story mission on Portland, the Mafia becomes your enemy permanently, and their shotguns pose a consistent threat to you when you inevitably need to drive around their turf. Did I mention that they blow you up in 2 shots? As a result, side content around Portland Island permanently becomes much tougher. Another example is the various phone booth missions. The leaders of certain minor gangs that aren't involved in the main story offer you side jobs at the various phone booths. Some of these are really annoying, especially early on. But the real pain is that every time you finish their last mission, each of these guys betrays you. I just love being rewarded with betrayal. Here's my final example. I'm not a 100% completionist type of guy, so I didn't talk about a lot of the game's side content like the Patriot Playground, Vigilante, and other mini-games, and so on. These get to be more of a pain as a result of you gaining new enemies that want to give you a hard time. But here's something that should really scare completionists. Asuka's 5th mission can be skipped completely, and completely by accident, if you don't do it before you do the Donald Love mission, Grand Theft Arrow. So the game can actually prevent you from being able to 100% it, and you might not even realize it until it's too late. I'd hate to almost 100% this game only to have this stop me, so I thought I'd let you know about it too. Grand Theft Auto 3 is a game that's always fascinated me because of the mixed feelings it stirs up in me. There's a lot I love about it, like how I feel badass whenever I win a hard fight, or how there's a palpable feeling of danger looming around every corner. And without GTA 3, the gaming landscape would be totally different. On the other hand, GTA 3 made me feel badass because I finally beat a mission that made me want to throw my TV out a window. And that atmosphere of constant peril often made me feel this irrational feeling that someone at Rockstar hates my guts, and somehow, specifically, only hates my guts. For all of the triumphant highs, there's also shotgun blast-induced lows. I think that a lot of people who started with newer games are gonna find that this game is a pain in the ass. When I think of this game, words that come to my mind include ambition and freedom, but others include anger, frustration, and disappointment, and it's impossible for me to separate these qualities. While it's an incredibly innovative game whose contributions can't be ignored, Grand Theft Auto 3 is a diamond in the rough. Greatness lurks within, but it'll take some work for it to be fully realized. There's a lot of room for improvement, and when that rears its head, it's often in frustrating ways. So unless you're a PS2 nerd or a masochist, you're probably better off looking for a different game. But that's just my opinion. If you have any thoughts on Grand Theft Auto 3, I'd love to talk about it in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.